Today is January the 1st, 2026. Welcome to the new year. And this is the year that everything is going to change for you. If you're a business owner and you're wanting to increase your business sales, make more money, get control over your marketing, any of those sort of things, then this podcast, this show, the AI Marketing Show, is for you.
Welcome to the AI Marketing Show, the podcast for business owners who suck at marketing but want to make more profits in sales. And here's your host, Eran Malloch.
Hello and welcome. Today is the 1st of January 2026. My name is Eran Malloch and welcome to the very first episode of the AI Marketing Show. The show for business owners who suck at marketing but want to get more sales. I thought I'd choose today in particular to start this show because it's a new year. It's New Year's Day here in Perth, Western Australia, where I'm located. And it is a new era for business owners who want to improve their marketing. They want to get their business going. They don't want to have to spend thousands of dollars on an expensive marketing consultant or a marketing agency or any of the number of other things that people try and tend to fail at. So this show is all about you and all about how you can take control of your business's future, learn the simple basics of marketing, and most importantly, leverage the power that AI now brings to the game. Because, ChatGPT only been out since November 2022, so that's, it's 3 years and 2 months roughly. A lot has changed in that time. So I want you to start thinking of AI as your marketing assistant or your PA or your VA, whatever you want to call it. The power in any of those products nowadays compared to 3 years ago is amazing, and what you can do with it is amazing. So that's the whole point of this show. Help you learn your own marketing, learn the basics. I'll give you a really, really simple way to do marketing. Every episode is going to touch on 3 things in particular, and then each episode will also 3 core elements, and then each episode will deep dive into how you can use AI to help you with that. So let's get started and talk about the 3 things that you will hear me say all the time. And by the way, behind me, that's my bookshelf, which you can see, and then there's another one over there. Most of those books are marketing books. And, you could say, okay, that's fantastic. But a tool like ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Anthropic Claude now has most of that knowledge available for $20 a month US, roughly. Now, I'm not saying you can pull one book off the shelf and say, tell me what was on page 25, paragraph 3, but the knowledge in that library there, and you can't see all of it because there's more below me, the knowledge in that library is now available in all of the major AI platforms. So I'm going to show you how to use that, how to access that knowledge, and I'm going to show you how to make marketing so simple that even you will be able to impress yourself, and you won't need to hire a marketing consultant or a marketing agency to do the marketing for you, and you can start taking control of your business. Now, there's a lot of different ways that people can do marketing. I'm going to focus on one particular way that I believe is the best overall, and it's also simple. I could teach you hugely complicated stuff. I've run complicated marketing campaigns for clients spending, $150,000 a month all the way down to $100 a month. There's a lot of complexity there. You don't need most of that. So I'm going to teach you the simplest. But let's start with the 3 most important elements. And I'm going to talk about this every episode. In order for your business to be successful with marketing, you need to nail 3 things. And they are, number 1, and most importantly, the reason you don't have enough clients is mostly, probably about 99% due to the fact that just not enough people know that you exist and what you do. If you're an accountant or a bookkeeper or a real estate agent or an engineer or an architect or whatever it is you do, your number 1 problem is simply that not enough people know who you are. That's number 1, and that's pretty obvious. We're going to solve that, and I'm going to show you how to solve that easily and quickly and cheaply. So once you get that nailed, then the next step you need to take in order to advance your marketing and start to generate success is you need to get an audience of people that know who you are and are growing to like you because they've seen your content out there. They've seen you out there on a regular basis, sharing your expertise, your wisdom, your knowledge, all of that sort of stuff. You know, one of the biggest mistakes I see people making in marketing, I've had clients I've been doing this for over 20 years now. Almost every client walks in the door and says, I want customers today and I want you to run ads to do that. And that's great. But what you've got to look at is that in most cases, when you start running ads for that, what you're essentially doing is you're going on a first date with a stranger and you're asking them to marry you in the first 30 seconds. And that's what most advertising is like. And it doesn't work, except by luck and except by a lot of money in most cases. So the like aspect is really important. It's fine for people to know you. If they don't like you, you're not going to get business out of them. So the next step is getting them to like you. And we're going to talk about that as we progress in the show. And then the last, but it's certainly not the least, the most important one out of all this is the third element, number 3, that is trust. You are going to learn how to develop trust with prospective customers so that when they're ready to actually buy whatever it is you sell, you're the name at the top of their list. You may be even the only name on their list because they already know your name. They've grown to like you through consuming some of your educational content, and they trust you enough to be the person that will solve their problem, their pain point. So we've all heard know, like, and trust. I mean, that's been around for longer than I've been alive. But the problem is most people don't take it seriously and they don't understand the importance of it. So this show is going to be focused. It's all going to be built around developing know, like, and trust, and then how to use AI to make it easy for you to implement all this stuff and develop your market. So that's really the introduction. I can't see my screen. It says I've done 6 minutes and 33 seconds on the camera. So that's basically the introduction. What we'll do now is we will jump over and take a look at our first subject for the first show. So we'll speak to you in a minute. Okay, so let's start. I've got myself a little mini whiteboard here. Let's start with some basics. So I've already briefly touched on the know, like, and trust. So let's dig into that a little bit more. So know is purely about building. I'll just take the cap off the pen. It's about building an audience. People who know your name, what you do, etc. Whether you're Fred Smith, architect, or Meredith Johnson, HR consultant, or whatever. It's about that first point, because if you don't have anybody who knows who you are and what you do, you got nothing. You're standing in a desert island, standing on a desert island trying to find customers when there ain't anyone around there. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to look at. And it's really easy to do this, much easier than most people realize. So number 2, the like factor, it's really about finding people that are attracted to you in terms of who you are as an individual and what you do as a business professional. So they're going to be people that have some kind of interest in what you talk about, because the whole point of the entire marketing game that I'm going to be teaching you to do is going to be based around creating content that attracts people to you. What kind of content? We're going to talk about that in a little while. So first, we've got to get people to know who the heck we are. Then we've got to have something that grabs their interest, because you want an audience of people, because initially this is going to be what I would describe as a cold audience. They don't know who you are, never heard of you before. So, as I said earlier, it's not, we don't want to take the approach of going on the first date and asking someone to marry you in the first 30 seconds. It's not cool. Doesn't work real well. That's the cold audience. They don't know who you are. So very first thing is around about generating that exposure, them knowing your name. Then we need to start talking about stuff that's interesting to them in relation to how you can help them. So if you were an accountant, for example, this is just a simple example, and this would probably work for a bookkeeper as well. You could start talking about topics like, what kind of deductions you can get for your business in the financial year, and it could be some tips and advice on that. It could be, you could be talking about something like, what's the best accounting software to use? That's going to be, in most cases, it's going to be around about the questions that people ask you or ask themselves. So, what kind of software should I use to run my accounting in my business? Do I need to do this, etc.? So that's the next level, and this is where a lot of your more effective marketing content is going to appear. And these people are going to be people that already know you. So they're no longer cold at that point. The first time they've seen you, they know your name, what you do. They go from cold to warm. Let me try and fit that up there. I'm going to do a proper digital whiteboard for the next video, but this is just, I thought I'd use this for the first one for convenience sake. So the warm audience is the people that know your name, what you do, and via creating content that answers their questions and is of interest to them in solving their problems, you're starting to develop a relationship with them, for want of a better way to put it. All right. And then finally, trust is where they're at the point where they know, like, and trust you. You are now someone that they trust and that they're willing to spend money with. Here's the important thing: when they are ready. Now, if you sell, let's give you an example. Let's say you're a real estate agent, you sell houses, right? The average homeowner doesn't buy a new home every 3 to 6 months or every 12 months. Most cases, particularly with the crazy prices in Australia at the moment, they might buy a home and hang on to it for 10 or 20 years, maybe more, all right? So, for them to get to the point where they're willing to spend money with you, they have to trust that you are the right person for them. And you've got to consider that you are one, doesn't matter what industry you're in, you are one of many, many alternative providers. Whether you're a marketing guy like me or a marketing gal, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a real estate agent, there's a gazillion of us out there in each of those industries. So trust is very much about building the relationship between you and those people watching your content, so that they put you at the top of the list when they're ready to buy something, or at least to start talking to someone about it. Because if you've ever done a cold call, for example, I used to do cold call sales before I got into marketing. That's why I got into marketing. I got sick of cold calling for a living. If you've ever done that, you're just a stranger ringing out of the view, bugging someone, trying to flog them something. They don't want to know about you. The chances of them being interested are very small. There's a great book I've got in my shelf here somewhere. That one up there, which you probably can't see. It's called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. I highly recommend you get a copy. And in that, he has this great little diagram, which I built my whole business around. And it's around what I call the customer triangle. And it's how many people are ready to buy at any one time. I'm going to get the book down. Here we go. Okay, I talked about the book. Let me show it to you. The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. Chet actually has passed on and is no longer with us. His daughter took over the business, and the latest version of this book has her name on it. I believe she's in the process of selling the business now. She's wanting to go in a different direction. This is still probably one of the best books I've ever read when it comes to anything business related. So my copy of this, which is quite an old copy, on page 64, you can see this diagram. And you can see, I call that the customer triangle. So at any one time, only about 3% of people are ready to buy. So if you've got 100 people that would be potentially buying your product, only about 3% of them are ready to buy. Then you've got about 6 to 7% of people who are thinking about it or open to it. Then you've got 30%, which is that one here, who don't think they're interested, but doesn't mean to say they aren't. You've got another 30% who are not thinking about it, and you've got your final 30% that know they're not interested. So the final 30%, classic example would be if you sell cigarettes. You're not going to sell cigarettes to a non-smoker unless they're buying it as a gift for someone else. If you sell, I don't know, think of something. I can't think of an example, but cigarettes was the most obvious one. Oh, so if you're a butcher, you're not going to sell too much meat to the vegetarian. Okay? So that's a segment of the audience that you will never get no matter what. And every audience, every product and every service has people like that. Some markets have large numbers of people in the whole category. Everyone buys food. That's pretty obvious. Not everyone buys cars. Not everyone buys business jets. Not everyone buys complex accounting software, etc. So the audience size will vary depending on that. But if you look at this little simple diagram that Chet produced, that is a really important thing to understand in your business. And that is what we're going to focus on. And this is why I've got the whole idea of know, like, and trust. Because the idea there is to turn people from, number one, the 3% who are ready to buy now. They're the ones that if you develop if you get them into your audience and they consume a bit of your content and they like it and maybe they get to the point of trusting you, then you're much more likely to get a sale out of them quickly. But the reality is that most people aren't ready to buy yet, and there are some that are not thinking about it or don't think that they're interested. So the whole point of this 3-step process is to find the people that fit the category, that they might be interested in what you sell now or in the future, or, and this is an important thing, they might not be interested themselves, but they could, if they consume your content and get to know, like, and trust you, they can refer you to someone. So even if they're not the customer, they can still turn into a customer. So the whole point of this is to take them from introduction to interest to trust and buying. And that will take time. Every market has that same time frame that it takes to get prospective clients from cold to hot to trot with a credit card in their hand ready to go. So the whole marketing perspective I'm going to teach you in the episodes of the show is going to really be around that. That is the core of everything that I will talk to you about, is that KLT. If you nail that, you can be a successful business owner when it comes to marketing in terms of generating as many clients as you want and making pretty well as much money as you want. And you don't need to spend obscene amounts of money, tens of thousands of dollars a month on advertising with an agency or even trying to do it yourself. So that's the bottom line with what you're going to learn. So for those of you who suck at marketing, the complexity of what I'm going to teach you, I'm going to bring it down to its simplest. And the simplest is focus on KLT, know, like, and trust. That's number one. Everything you do should be based around introducing yourself to someone who doesn't know you, attracting the interest and attention of someone who may potentially be a client or a referral, and then when they're ready, converting that person or persons into customers down time. So the beauty of that for you as a business owner is, number one, you have a large pipeline of prospective clients. Someone could be in your database ready to buy in 3 weeks, and somebody could be in your database that's ready to buy in 5 years. But if you build that database, as for want of a better way to put it, over time, people will start to move from stage to stage to stage. And you're going to get to the point where you will have people contacting you out of the blue to become clients. And literally, you're going to have to start turning people away because you can't take on any more customers. Or, better solution yet, if you're in that situation, and that's a great situation to be in, number one, it allows you to be more choosy so you don't take clients out of desperation. And I don't know about you, but I've certainly done that in the past when I needed a customer and somebody came along and all the warning bells were going off, but I took it because I needed the money, kind of thing. doing this allows you to no longer be in that position, allows you to pick and choose who you want as a customer. And the other way it works in your favor is it allows you to raise your prices without any pushback, because you're only ultimately talking to people who are ready to buy, who are usually at the trust stage and ready to buy, at which stage your price becomes a non-issue. Now, okay, let's be clear on that. We're not trying to sell a $100 product for $10,000. You know, if your product is similarly priced to everyone else's or your service, they're not going to pay a huge amount extra unless there's some kind of premium that attracts them. But what I am saying is that, particularly if you're a service provider, when you start to be able to pick and choose the clients because you have too many inquiries of good quality prospects, you can then raise your prices to slow down the process. You know, people will sit around there and they will wait for a while. And hey, if you want to drop the prices and do a special sale, then great. So that's the most important things for you to know to get started. And you might say, well, where does AI fit into this? Well, AI comes soon. We're going to talk more about AI. Well, actually, no, let's dive in and just do a quick introduction to AI. So first things first, chances are you're probably familiar with one or more of the main AI platforms, and that is ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Claude, which is made by a company called Anthropic. Claude is my preferred platform. I call it my daily drive. Google Gemini is my second favorite. And currently I'm not a subscriber. I'm a paid subscription for both of those. I'm currently no longer a subscription for ChatGPT. I just found that Claude and Gemini were getting better than it, and I just decided to cancel it. Now, I may well go back to that in the future. You may be a ChatGPT user and love it, and that's fine. You don't have to change if you don't want to. That's just what I use. The reality of life is the basics of what we're going to do are going to work pretty similarly across all three. Now, there are some nuances. One of the reasons I prefer Claude is because it's better at writing content, whether it's blog posts, emails, video scripts, or whatever, than ChatGPT. Gemini has really sort of taken off in the last few months since version 3 came out. They're really kicking it out of the park with some cool functionality in there, and I kind of expect that it may end up bypassing Claude eventually, but we'll see how that goes. So whichever one you use, I do encourage you to have a paid account. Currently, a paid account is usually, I think it's about $20 US a month, whichever one you choose. You can use all three of them for free, but you get better advantages out of having a paid account. And some of the topics we'll discuss in future episodes will require you to have a paid account. And once you understand how it works, you'll see the value in actually spending that money. If you can't afford $20 a month US, which is, I don't know, currently about $31 Australian. If you can't afford that, you've probably got more serious problems to worry about than you know, whether you can do something more complicated than that. So I'm going to operate on the assumption that, you know, $20 a month US is not going to be a big deal for most people. So I'm going to primarily use Claude when I talk to you, but you will probably see me use all three of them. So as far as that goes, you don't need to go and sign up for everything. Just pick one. If you like one already, if you're using one already, maybe you have Copilot with your Microsoft Office program. Copilot's probably my least preferred option, but it's usable. You know, it still does good stuff. But if I had to choose, Copilot would be the one I would probably definitely not pay for. I would pay, you know, my order would still be Claude, then Gemini, then ChatGPT. Now, you might be watching this video. Today's the 1st of January 2026. Brand new year. You might be watching this video in 6 months or a year or 2 years, and the landscape may have changed completely. You know, Claude might have gone out of business, ChatGPT might have gone out of business, and Gemini might be ruling the world, or something new. You know, it was announced the other day that Meta, Facebook, just purchased, you may or may not be familiar with a AI product called Manus, M-A-N-U-S. I'm not going to go into any details about it. Suffice it to say it's a pretty powerful product. So Meta has just purchased that, and they will obviously be implementing that into their systems. So you might be using Manus, for example, or you might be using something that we don't even know about yet. It doesn't matter. And the other thing to know is today is the worst your AI tools will ever be. They keep getting better over time. I've been using ChatGPT since early 2023 was the first one I started with. And it was good, but now it's so much better, and it keeps advancing, and they all keep advancing. So, whatever you can do today is probably going to be old school, or not old school, old hat when you're using whatever tool you use in a year or 2 years' time. So, don't get bent out of shape about which tool you use. Just pick one that you like and use it. Okay, that's probably going to cover all the basics for today's episode. Thanks for watching. I have already started setting up a Substack, which is basically an email subscription platform you can sign up to, and it will give you access to all of the episodes in full. And anytime I do AI prompts, I'll put the written prompts in the Substack thing. Now, at the moment, it's free. I will be starting to charge for it in probably a couple of months, but to start with, I'm letting people in for free just to kick things off. So you can find that at the aimarketingshow.substack.com. Substack. So go along, check it out, and look forward to catching you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.